Your cardiovascular system changes more during 8 hours of deep sleep than it does during a week at the gym. Yet most people treat sleep like an inconvenience instead of the most powerful heart health tool they have. Ever wonder why elite athletes obsess over sleep data more than their training splits? Or why your resting heart rate stays stubbornly high even when you're exercising 5 days a week? Today, I'll explain what happens to your heart when you track sleep quality instead of just hours like you're 5 years old. By the end, you'll understand whether your cardiovascular system is actually recovering at night or just lying there with its eyes closed, pretending. Here's what nobody tells you about sleep, and it matters. Your body doesn't care that you were in bed for 8 hours. It cares about what actually happened during those 8 hours. Specifically, whether you cycled through deep sleep stages without your brain waking up every time a car drove by. For 90 days, I wore a heart rate monitor to bed every single night. I tracked resting heart rate variability, blood oxygen levels, and how much time I spent in deep sleep versus light sleep. I expected to see energy improvements. Maybe feel less like a zombie during afternoon meetings. What I didn't expect was my cardiovascular system to change like I'd been training for a marathon without ever lacing up running shoes. Day 1 looked pretty standard for someone who occasionally hits the gym. Resting heart rate was 68 beats per minute. Not terrible, not great, just average. Heart rate variability sat at 42 milliseconds, which sounds like technobabble, but basically measures how well your nervous system can switch between stress mode and recovery mode. Mine was stuck somewhere between a caffeinated squirrel and a person who just remembered they left the oven on. I was getting about 6 hours of total sleep with maybe 90 minutes of actual deep sleep. The rest was light sleep and random wake-ups I didn't even remember. Then week 2 hit, and the data started telling a different story. I started going to bed at the same time every night, 10:30 p.m., no exceptions, even on weekends. Room temperature dropped to 65 degrees, because apparently your body needs to cool down to sleep deeply. No alcohol within 3 hours of sleep, which meant my casual evening wine habit had to go. Here's what happened next. My deep sleep jumped from 90 minutes to almost 2 hours. My resting heart rate dropped 3 beats per minute in just 14 days. It's like my heart suddenly remembered it didn't have to work overtime just to keep me alive. Now here's where it gets wild. By day 30, my resting heart rate had dropped to 62 beats per minute. That's 6 beats lower than when I started, and I hadn't added a single cardio session to my routine. I was still the same person who takes the elevator instead of stairs, but my heart was acting like I'd been running hills every morning. Heart rate variability climbed to 53 milliseconds, an improvement that usually takes months of deliberate stress management. The only thing that changed was sleep consistency. Same bedtime, same wake time, same cool room, no booze, no doom scrolling until 2 a.m. The science behind this makes sense once you stop thinking of sleep as just rest time. During the day, you're running 1,000 processes, emails, texts, Slack messages, trying to remember if you fed the dog. All that activity keeps your heart rate elevated even when you're sitting still. Deep sleep is when your body switches into full repair mode, and your cardiovascular system finally gets to rebuild. Here's what actually happens in your body during deep sleep. Your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest side that makes you calm, takes over completely. Your heart rate drops and your blood pressure falls. Your brain flushes out metabolic waste that builds up during the day. When you get consistent, uninterrupted deep sleep, your parasympathetic nervous system gets stronger. The more time you spend in deep recovery, the better your body gets at dropping into that mode quickly. But here's what most people miss about sleep quality. Your cardiovascular system is probably stuck in fight or flight mode right now, and you don't even realize it. Your heart rate stays elevated throughout the entire day. Your blood pressure is slowly creeping up over time. Your heart rate variability is low, meaning your body can't switch gears. It's either full throttle or off, with no in-between. Doctors tell you to exercise more, eat better, reduce stress, all great advice that requires time, money, and willpower you probably don't have. But nobody mentions that your sleep quality might be sabotaging everything. You could be hitting the gym 5 days a week, but if you're sleeping like garbage, your heart never gets the signal to recover. By day 60, my resting heart rate hit 59 beats per minute. Heart rate variability climbed to 61 milliseconds, a level usually seen in endurance athletes. I wasn't running marathons or doing intense cardio. I was just sleeping consistently, protecting my deep sleep windows like they were concert tickets I'd been waiting months to buy. The improvements didn't come from sleeping more hours. I tried that in week 3, aiming for 9 hours instead of 8, and it didn't make any difference. It came from sleeping better, quality over quantity, always. Consistency over chaos, night after night. And this is where it gets tricky for most people. Protecting your sleep quality in the modern world is borderline impossible without some serious lifestyle changes. You have to go to bed at the same time every night, which means saying no to late dinners and Netflix binges. You have to keep your room cold, which means either cranking the AC or sleeping in layers. You have to cut out alcohol within 3 hours of sleep, which eliminates the casual evening drink that makes you feel like a functional adult. And you have to stop scrolling your phone in bed, which is the hardest one because apparently we all need to see what strangers think about everything before closing our eyes. The misconception is that sleep is passive, that you just lie down and your body does whatever it's going to do. But quality sleep is active and requires effort. It requires setup, boundaries, and discipline that most people don't associate with rest. You're not just sleeping, you're creating recovery. You're creating an environment where your nervous system feels safe enough to fully shut down and rebuild. Cool room signals your body to drop core temperature, which triggers deep sleep. Consistent bedtime trains your circadian rhythm to release melatonin on schedule. No alcohol means your sleep cycles aren't constantly interrupted by your liver working overtime. Here's what you need to understand about cardiovascular fitness. It's not just about how fast you can run or how many stairs you can climb without wheezing. It's about how efficiently your heart works at rest, how quickly it can drop into recovery mode when you're not actively moving. A lower resting heart rate means your heart is pumping more blood per beat, so it doesn't have to work as hard. Higher heart rate variability means your nervous system is flexible and not stuck in chronic stress mode. Both of these markers improve with endurance training, long runs, cycling, swimming. But here's the part that blew my mind. They also improve with consistent, high-quality sleep. Your heart doesn't know the difference between "I just ran 5 miles" and "I just spent 2 hours in deep sleep." It only knows it got to rest, recover, and rebuild. By day 90, my resting heart rate stabilized at 58 beats per minute, a 10-beat drop from where I started. Heart rate variability averaged 64 milliseconds. Blood pressure dropped from borderline high to comfortably normal. I didn't feel like a different person walking around with superpowers, but my body was objectively performing better. It's like upgrading your phone's processor without changing anything on the outside. Everything runs smoother, and the battery lasts longer. I wasn't more motivated or disciplined or suddenly immune to stress. I just gave my cardiovascular system the one thing it desperately needed: consistent, uninterrupted time to rebuild itself every single night. The clear takeaway? If you want measurable heart health improvements without adding more gym time, your sleep consistency might matter more than your step count. Track it for 30 days using any basic fitness tracker. Doesn't have to be expensive, just needs to measure resting heart rate and sleep stages. Focus on same bedtime, cool room, no alcohol within 3 hours of sleep, and no screens 30 minutes before bed. You won't feel like a superhero overnight, but your heart will start acting like one. To recap, sleep quality, not just hours, directly impacts your cardiovascular system in ways that mirror serious endurance training. Consistent deep sleep trains your parasympathetic nervous system to stay in recovery mode longer, dropping your resting heart rate and increasing heart rate variability. These changes don't come from sleeping more, they come from sleeping better, which requires protecting your sleep environment and sticking to a consistent schedule even when it's inconvenient. Your heart doesn't care about your Netflix queue or your social life. It only cares whether you gave it time to rebuild itself or made it run on fumes again. So here's the real question. If you could drop your resting heart rate by 10 beats and improve your cardiovascular health as much as running 3 times a week just by going to bed at the same time every night, what's actually stopping you? Logistics, or the fact that we've been trained to treat sleep like it's optional?